Hey y'all, welcome to the Black Legends Multi-City Virtual Book Tour. I'm your host, Africana Stories, and I am beyond excited to kick off this incredible journey of storytelling, culture, and connection. We've got an absolutely legendary lineup of authors to inspire and empower you across cities and continents. Today, we're diving right in with an amazing session from a phenomenal author, J.C. Benson. Y'all, JC is here to break down some serious barriers with his discussion beyond the stereotypes, mental health, and Black men. It's such an important conversation that we need to have, and JC brings it with heart, truth, and wisdom. So grab your coffee, tea, or whatever you're sipping on, and let's get real with JC Benson. Let's roll his session.
Well, welcome to Dr. Black Love Podcast on the Black Legends Virtual Book Tour. My name is Stephanie Nelson and
J.C. Benson.
And we are moderator and host of the Dr. Black Love Podcast. I am privileged to be sitting here with J.C. Benson, author of Am I My Brother's Keeper? And today we are going to talk a little bit about how this book came about. But first, let me introduce myself a little bit better. Obviously, I told you my name is Stephanie Nelson, and I am CEO and co-founder of Nelson Legacy Enterprises International. We do business in the United States and in Nigeria. Our international office is headquartered in Nigeria. However, we are doing business in multiple continents, and we are super excited about the opportunity. And J.C. Benson, more about him.
I'm an author. I do a lot of different stuff, but mainly in terms of the tour, I'm an author that it's my first novel, with Black Seas Publishing. And we'll talk more about how this podcast came about from the story itself, things of that nature. But I'm excited. I'm excited for everything we have going on. So.
Yes. Okay. And I just want to mention that Travel and Invest Africa, soon to be Travel and Invest International, is a proud sponsor of the Black Legends Virtual Book Tour, which I'm super excited about. I definitely want to give a shout out to Jamie Hopkins, who has been a longtime friend, an outstanding businesswoman. And if you see me publish, if you see me publishing anything in this world, whether she is publishing or moving on to greener pastures in those international territories that she has taken over, she published it. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. Love working with Jamie, and she is the one who helped to publish this amazing book that I'm very proud of. Now, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Where did Dr. Black Love Podcast come from?
So originated with the story itself. That's the baseline and the career of the main character of the story. And without getting into too many details, he basically started, like a lot of people, they started on podcasts, and it kind of grew. It grew from like a coffee shop to doing something, like online, virtual, and then it kind of blew up. And he actually had an opportunity to go back home, and that's the baseline from where the story takes place. But that's his chosen, or his he's blessed to do that in his career.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this, Dr. Black Love comes from. It's a moniker that he created in a coffee shop. Literally, he wrote it on like a napkin, kind of like you fly Southwest started on a napkin.
Yeah.
And then just grew from there, and it allowed him to do something he loved, but also even more importantly, help people, which is big in terms of what we want to do in the real world versus the book itself, and in terms of mental health, and talking about things that, as we continue with the series, and things that our community doesn't talk a lot about, things that get pushed under the rug. We want to bring that out was even if you put a bunch of dirt under a rug, you're gonna trip over it eventually. So,
Absolutely.
but that's where the story originated. That's where Dr. Black Love podcast comes from. We're gonna expand it a little more. His was literally just mainly about relationships, but we'll talk about that and some other things. But love being the background of everything. And there's a lot of things that we can go into with that as a topic. So.
So let me ask you a question. When you were developing the character of Dr. Black Love and as a podcast host, is that something that you were like passionate about that you actually wanted to do?
No, when I first wrote it, no. I just wanted it. That's something that people do now, and it was like, okay. And the idea of the podcast itself was there, and I was trying to connect it and find a way for the character to be able to do that when I was developing the character. But as far as me doing it, no, when I wrote it, no, I didn't think about that at all.
Let's talk a little bit about your history and how you became an author of a novel, but how you started was in movies.
Yeah.
So if you talk a little bit about, because I remember when you had started the production company and all that it took to build that.
Yeah, so man, without making it like a 20-minute story, when I graduated my last semester, for whatever reason, I had always
College.
written, my last semester in the fall, I started writing. I used to write like in high school and different things, and then I was like, all right, now I'm done playing ball, and I'm just start writing. So I went from there over the next couple of years, and I moved to Connecticut. After I got out of school, a couple of years after I got out of school, I should say. And then it was like, okay, started doing screenplays and winning some screenplay competitions and things like that. I was like, well, what's the next step? Make a movie, literally knew nothing about it. It was just crazy. And we did 2 feature films, some video, some not videos, some videos for a couple of artists up there in that area. But 2 feature films, a bunch of different film festivals, things of that nature. And then I stopped for a long time and then because of you, actually. That's how, I got with Black Seeds Publishing is because of you. But in terms of just people over you and a couple, my mother and things of that nature, always kept asking me like, why don't you write them? I'm like, man, I got kids. I ain't got time to do all that. I had 2 sons and, and things of that nature. But getting back to, because that doesn't leave you,
No.
It's just, you want to use your talents and things like that to, for the world to see, and to help the world. So it comes naturally to me telling stories. So that's kind of how we got to this point.
Yeah, and so the podcast is designed to help not just our community, but particularly Black men, right? And helping them through the process of just being able to have a safe space, a trusted space where they can talk about how they actually feel. Now, can I ask you, how do you endeavor as we continue to build these this series and these episodes? How do we endeavor to create that trusted space?
I think the first thing, just like any relationship, just be honest. We're gonna be honest and upfront, and I've been asked like, what makes you think you should do that or do this and things over the last year or two, been trying to develop this. I believe that, just based off my relationships I've had with people and they trust me and different, men and women, and more than anything, I've realized over the last couple of years, I think getting through COVID, and it talks about this in the book with Kobe Bryant passing away right before COVID hit. You saw men, I never seen, it's odd because he's an athlete.
Yeah.
We don't know Kobe, but you feel like that's your brother. Or your
Right. Especially if you're a Lakers fan, which we are.
Exactly. So, you saw men like, man, you felt that.
Yeah.
You really felt that. And
a husband, a father, a mentor,
somebody that's
a friend,
just ripped out of your life like that. And then, and all the things that have occurred over the last 8-10 years to where it's really important. I don't feel like Black men especially, and the way we're portrayed and the different roles we have to, or faces we have to have. When we're given enough opportunities, like you said, when you feel safe to say this or say that or whatever it is. So that's really important to me. Matter of fact, with publisher, we had a discussion on one particular part of the book. I just popped in my head. And we can talk about that later, but there's areas and things like the way we're portrayed and the way that people think we should act, and the way that we feel like we have to act, that I think are important to discuss. So did that answer your question? Hopefully it did.
Yeah, I think that I think it's time that we kind of share why I am a part of the podcast and why it's important to discuss kind of why I feel like we are doing these together. So Jeff and I have been friends since kindergarten. We have been in situations where we've both gone through divorces together. He was a part of my process of healing, getting over, talking through. One thing I can count on is Jeff is going to be honest, whether I want to hear it or not. Okay.
Both ways.
Both ways, yeah. He's going to, so the other piece of that is we're now 46 and 7, gonna be 47. And over the years, that's a long time. Like in the beginning of our friendship, it was very, immature. We were just kids. What did we know? But as life started lifing and different scenarios kept coming up, our bond just, I don't even know how it really happened, Jeff. We just stayed in contact. Jeff is great at staying in contact with people. I used to be good at it now, but these, okay. In these entrepreneur streets, I am terrible at it. But I'm so thankful to God that he's my son's godfather. He stood up at the front of the church and took on the responsibility of godfather. So he's not just in name, he did the necessary rites of passage, if you will, to become his godfather. He stood before God and man and declared that he would do that. And I
forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right. And so because of that, he plays a significant role, even sometimes behind the scenes, things that Darian has needed, or if there was times where there was any type of significant need when it comes to Darian, he has always been very present. And so I say all that to say that we've built over the years, going through divorces, loss of my parents, even just his grandmother, all of the different things that life has presented. We've become each other's like trusted space without being in a relationship. Because oftentimes people are like, I had somebody just ask me that the other day. They were like, you sure y'all not in a relationship? I was like, Jeff.
We like brother and sister.
It's like brother and sister. And it's legitimately like brother and sister. Not that we just saying that because it's that. And if you followed our story, you would know that that's just what it is. But we trust each other. We trust each other with information about each other that we know is not going over. I don't have to worry like I gotta look up on social media and he got a whole post about, I had a conversation with my best friend about blah, 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 blah. Not happening. So I say all that to say that the reason why I'm a part of the show is because I add to his trusted spaces. I add to the safe space. I challenge him in a way to think about things from a different perspective. We often talk about family and, how I look at family now after having lost my parents versus how he looks at family, still having his parents with him. Two different perspectives, but adds value on both sides, right? Because there was a time that I felt like an orphan, right? I was like, oh my God, I'm like an orphan. Where are my people at? So I think that it's important that we have these conversations in those safe spaces that we've created. So I'm a part of the safe space, and I'm a part of the trusted community that he has. So Hello, I'm here to moderate and ask and pull, and there's probably questions that I can ask him that maybe some people wouldn't have context for, but because of our history, I can do that. So with that said, Jeffrey Charles, oh, JC Benson. Um, I would ask you, why do you think I'm a part of your safe space?
You said it. Trust. That's and we'll talk about this as we go. I think I don't trust a lot of people, in terms of you may trust them like in
To a
maybe the
degree,
area
yeah.
you have to, but like we said, I can name one hand how many people I trust like with everything,
Yeah.
And even touching on what you said, just to add, we'll also have other people come on,
Yeah.
different guests, and not the for different reasons, and as we continue with the episodes and the series and things of that nature. But you're on here because you're my sister, you're my best friend, and like you said, you can always pull things, and I have a comfort in knowing that you got whatever you want to do. And that's important to me, because there's not a lot of people in the world who are like that. That I feel like comfortable enough to be like, all right, I know they're gonna do what they're supposed to do. I ain't gonna worry about what Steph got, because she got it.
Yeah.
So that's good. And you bring, and also an element of being a woman, a different perspective, and all the amazing things that you do day to day. Like I always tease you, where you from, back from East Hills up to where, to Nigeria. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Right. So, and back from where, our neighborhoods we grew up in.
Yeah.
Showing that and with your son, my godson, and my boys, and just to show them things. And it's important because they're all boys, they're not men. Your son's older than my son.
Yeah.
My two sons, but them coming up in the world and making sure they're well-rounded.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's one thing we'll talk about as we continue. We have some subjects and topics for different episodes, but I think the way we deal with our sons is a lot different than every other generation before, even my father.
Yeah.
The way that I deal with my sons and the friends that I have and the way we deal with our sons is different. I think it's a good difference.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that, but mainly, I trust you, I love you, and I know you will handle it, and I love the perspective that you'll bring to the podcast.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, yeah.
So I guess I'm going to ask you a question around, from a Black men's perspective, whether platonic or romantic, what are some of the baseline things that you have to have in a relationship?
Well, you gotta look good first. That's the first thing. I think, and that's funny because I say that people will be like, yeah, that's shallow. I'm like, no, that's not.
No.
The first thing I see is you as the person, like, well, wherever you at, whether, people do stuff online, apps and stuff or whatever, at least be attractive.
Right.
I don't think that'll work if you ain't attracted to the person. But beyond that, obviously, is there's a lot of people that are cute or attractive, or fine,
ugly,
whatever, but horrible people.
Yeah.
So past that, the type of person or character do you have?
Name some character traits though. Like,
oh,
I think because I think it's important that we name specific character traits, because I think when we start to dive into those character traits, it'll make more sense to the viewer when they're watching it and give them more context around, like why we value these particular character traits.
Great question. Being, I think, supportive and not to dive too much in this, but how do you see the perspective of me as a Black man in this world? And how do you support me in that? That's huge.
Real big.
You're talking about like a real relationship.
Yeah.
Because you got to have, we talked before we recorded this and everything, and other times in life about feeling like you're in a safe space. Like that's hard. It's hard for Black men to trust people. I'll say me to trust people, but Black men in general to trust people. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. So that's huge.
It's trust them with the depth of who they are
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a depth, like, cause there's trust, cause I can trust that you're going to, if it, like the bare minimum. If I trust that you know, if, as long as God wakes you up in the morning, you're gonna wake up and brush your teeth.
Yeah.
I can trust you to do that.
Yep. Teaching my one son to do that now.
Right.
You know,
And
people
the
do
boy
it every
that-
day. Is-
It's a little terrible.
Almost there, yeah.
A little bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've all dealt with it. We have boys. If you have boys, you know, boys,
Brush your teeth.
get up and brush your teeth.
Like that's the first thing you do.
Come on,
Go to the
man.
bathroom, brush your teeth.
Yeah,
He's getting it. He just doesn't. His hair is more important than his
Than
teeth.
his teeth right now. Right. But like, just, I can trust you to do that, those bare things. But the question, you know, becomes, how do I trust you with that, the depth of my emotions, you
Yeah.
know, and how I can become ugly at times, but that you can still kind of love me through, and be there through those ugly times. And I'm not talking about like the love, I'm talking about whether platonic or romantic, right? The love has to be there. So anyway, yeah, I think that support as a Black man is so big. Now, how do you see Black women contributing to your support?
In my life.
Yes.
Oh man, I mean, my mother's my biggest supporter in life, period. So, and over time, obviously, your relationship grows and changes, and you know, as you get older. Like I used to think my mom was crazy. I love my mother to death. I won't take that the wrong way.
Right.
She was like there's just so many stories I can remember. I'll be like, what's wrong with her? My mom was like what 5'7", like 125. I'll be like, oh, she crazy. I mess with her. But you know, raising two young Black boys, you know, and now we're adults, and now we have grandkids. Now I get to see the softer side. Like, oh, she didn't do that. I don't remember her doing that when I was a kid.
Right, that part. My mom too.
Like,
Right.
Like, where did that come from?
Right. How
So
come you so lovey-dovey with
Right.
these boys?
Shoot, I ain't getting none of that.
Right, right.
But you get to see that. But my mother, my grandmother, obviously lives in the movies and
Yeah.
passed away. But and even her love is different. Like the generations is different.
Yeah.
And you know, and there's some other women that have been in my life, but those have been, you know, my aunts and things like that.
Yeah.
So
what is it though, like that thing that, if you can call it out from a Black woman, the support, like, what does that look like? Like, if you were going to paint a picture of support from Black women, what does that look like?
that's a tough question.
I know.
What does it look like?
Because I think about, how you know, when you're talking about relationships speak among Black families, oftentimes we overlook how you receive the support versus how we give it. We're thinking we're supporting you because I'm here. Well, sometimes, even if you're not there, sometimes the support needs to be around like the emotional safety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that you can be vulnerable and not be judged.
That's huge.
You know what I mean? Because I know for a fact, even my son, 17, if he feels like it's a judgmental zone of his vault, he pulls away, he doesn't talk, he shuts down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did that, is that in a man handbook somewhere that like?
I think that's for most men. Like even me, there's situations with my girl, like I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
I'm just checked out at this time. It's not even gonna be a conversation.
Right.
You can talk.
And I'm not, I
That's huge.
Yeah.
And there's no one answer for that. And it varies by situation. But yeah, I think most people we feel like get judged, but I think if when it gets to the point where it's judging as opposed to like advice or support versus judging, that's a line. And once we get past that, depending what it is, especially, we just.
How do you help your sons feel safe or our kids together? How do we, because I noticed that I'll give you an example. The other day, you demanded pretty much that we sit down at the table with Darian to help him work through the decision-making of becoming a Division I athlete.
Yep.
What does that mean? Like, how do you, and I noticed since that conversation, he's been lighter.
Because that's heavy on them, but you know, for your perspective as a mom, as a mom,
Yeah,
that's why, you know, we're designed to have families.
But correct.
A mom and a dad,
right,
you know, bring up your kids together.
right.
And then it's not just them, but the community,
Yeah.
your circle.
No, for real.
So we become that circle for him. So, you know, we just have real conversations. Not that even when there's 18's a man per se, but
Yeah.
age wise, but he trusts us and we like, yo, you need to do this. He believes us because since little to
Now,
where you are now.
yeah.
So with my sons have seen also, it's funny not to make fun of them, but I was when my girls were getting, we watched a clip of Tyrese and he was like, he showed every emotion. He's a little off, but like every emotion, but he was crying and he was upset, he was happy, all like in 45 seconds. It was so bizarre. But their sons have seen me cry, you know,
Yeah.
men cry, you know. But also I'm very honest with them. You know, I don't lie to them about anything,
Yeah.
no matter. There may be some things I hold back or don't tell them 100% because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, when you need to know, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I'm honest with them. I always have hugged them. I kiss them on the forehead. I never thought I would kiss my sons, but when they were babies, I kissed them. They're too old for that now, but I always kiss them on the head. My mom does that to me. It's just funny. But you just have to show them you, and kids can tell. You know, your parents probably done it to you. Like what's wrong?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm good. But she really lying. She like,
Right.
you don't need to know this. But,
Yeah.
so I try to give them the same thing, be honest and real and authentic with them at all times and let them be themselves and I have two boys, so they're different, you know.
Jeff, that's good. I believe that safe spaces are created with authenticity.
Yeah.
The authenticity of who you are. Safe spaces are created with people who can be authentically themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't often see that is okay in our communities all the time. I think that, and I'm not talking about the authenticity of, you know, social propaganda. I'm talking about the part that's offline. Do you know what I mean? The you that's in the house, on the couch, in the living room. That part of authenticity. Who are you really? Like I said, offline, you know. I think that that's where safe spaces begin, in the authentic perspective of being vulnerable. But how do we create that, not just for our kids, because we're supposed to create that for our kids. I have to admit that as a mom, like my son is at the stage now where I'm like, oh, come. And he's looking at me like,
Yeah, I mean, that's
get away
normal.
from me. Yeah, it is wrong.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
Folks sometimes they're like, right? He ain't no more, you know.
I mean, he's not, but I'm always like, you know, but what I want to do is sometimes push past that sometimes, so that he understands the importance of that. Those emotions are not abnormal; they're very normal. Even, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you're 17, about to be 18, and sure, you have evolved as at becoming a man, and that you don't have to always be, you know, hugging up with your mama.
Yeah.
But it's okay
to hug your
mom.
So
you know what I
hug
mean? I got to force it.
Really?
I gotta be like, come give your mama a hug.
He'll as he I think it'd be interesting to ask some like my mom for instance, or someone that's had boys that are older.
Yeah.
Like, cause I think that I probably was like that and now I hug them all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like not all, but
Right.
I do hug them. Every time I'm leaving my mom, I'll just hug them.
Yeah. I'm now forcing the practice of him saying, come say goodbye to me. Don't just leave and I don't.
Yeah, you should definitely.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah.
Cause yes, I know you're going out, but you should definitely
say you leave. I do that to my mom. Still talk. Yeah, things like that.
So what advice would we give to a person who, or I would say, let's be specific, to a Black man in America,
Okay.
because one of the things that I'm learning is that culturally, how Black men deal with certain things is different across different cultures. So we don't want to be sitting here talking like we know from all cultures, but from as a Black man in America, what would be some advice that you would give to him to not repeat bad behaviors across generations? And let me name one of those bad behaviors: lack of emotion.
So first thing you have to do, like any issue or problem, is acknowledge there is an issue or problem.
Agree.
And then from there, man, all right. So I don't think I'm gonna get like a step by step, but that first thing is to acknowledge that there is an issue.
Yeah.
Or there's a problem.
Sure.
And then talk about it. Like you said, you have to have people you trust or whatever to talk about it. Because that's like that's definitely prevalent in the Black community.
Yeah.
With men especially. Women are over emotional, use stereotypes, and the Black men are not emotional at all. I've had women tell me that their husband is like, but we don't get taught that.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said earlier, as far as how you have to just trust, and there's everybody that you don't give yourself to everybody or open yourself up to everybody. But if you really look back, as if you grew up, you'll know people and that you can open up to, even men, and I think that's important, to find a man.
Ooh, you said it.
And trust.
That's good.
To, like, I have always had my uncles, my dad, and people that aren't my uncle per se, but
yeah,
you can open up to and be honest with, and they've helped me tremendously through
life challenges. Yeah, and being able to sort through it, the man, and through in different ways. I think you said something so good. First that you said was acknowledge it. Yeah. Right. The second thing you said was seek out good mentorship, whether it be through your bloodline or your families or outside sources. Yeah. And then the third thing, your first thing you said was acknowledge it. The second thing is find somebody you can trust to discuss it so that you can have a real conversation. And then the third thing was basically continue to create that safe space, put in that circle of people around you that you can consistently go to. Yep. And so I think that for our first podcast, this was a good conversation. Yeah, and it's a great start.
Episode 1.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for allowing me to be a part of your platform.
Thank you for agreeing. You ain't have to agree.
I don't really get a chance to disagree with you much. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining us on the Dr. Black Love podcast. This is the first of many. And if I could encourage you, the first thing that I would encourage you to do is like and follow JC Benson on Facebook and Instagram. I would also encourage you to purchase the book, Am I My Brother's Keeper? JC Benson, and read the full story. Dr. Black Love is in there. And you can find that on blackseedspublishing.com as well as jcbenson.com. Yep. And then I would also encourage you guys to really start to lock in and tune in. We'll be sharing with you how you can find access to the podcast and what that looks like going forward. Thank you, Jamie and Black Seeds Publishing. Absolutely. For the opportunity to share on this particular platform. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Y'all, can we just take a moment to appreciate the realness that JC brought to us today? His perspective on mental health in the Black community is something we all needed to hear. Thank you, JC, for dropping those gems and sharing your story with us. And listen, this is just the beginning. We've got so much more in store. Our next stop is Nashville, Tennessee on October 12th, where Katrina Marie will be bringing us a powerful session on Faith is a Lifestyle. You won't want to miss it, so mark your calendars. Until then, Keep spreading the love, keep telling your story, and thank you for being a part of the Black Legends Tour. Catch y'all soon.